Welcome to the Unlist. You may notice I'm wearing the same clothes that I wore in the previous video, and that's because I filmed both of these back to back. Just deal with it, I guess. The unorthodox nature of the previous video made me feel like I should do something a little more like my normal content with the next video, so I decided to just do it in one long session. This video, however, is about the stuff that's more normal for me from this time of year. My December roundup 2025, where I kind of recap on the year a little bit, talk about things that I discovered this year, what I did, what I plan to do next year, that sort of thing, and some Christmas/December fragrance recommendations for you if you really need those. Some people do. So let's get started with December 2025 roundup. Now, unlike last year, when I did a roundup, I usually didn't make any more videos for the rest of the month until the new year. I am not necessarily going to do that this year. I might still make more content. We'll see. Because obviously I have a bit more interaction this year than I had last year or the year before. I don't know whether you want to call that channel growth or not, but I feel like this year, if I just stone cold stopped making videos for the rest of 2025, I would actually alienate people and chase some people off. So I might slow down to one video a week for the rest of December. We'll see. I don't know yet. But I'm just going to say that unlike last year, the roundup video isn't going to be the last video of the season. I'm going to keep doing videos. It's just they might be. Who knows, right? But this year in review, 2025, I'd say this was the year of collecting lines. Previous years, I would just buy a fragrance. Typically, I was hunting down the vintage recommendations that all the people on Base Notes bark about. I was one of those guys. Everyone says, this discontinued fragrance is amazing. Everyone says, this discontinued fragrance is amazing. And, well, you chase enough of those, and you start to realize that it's not true always. That a lot of those vintage discontinued fragrances smell very similar to other vintage fragrances you've smelled, whether they're discontinued or not. That the reason for their discontinuation may be entirely unrelated to them being unique or strange. Maybe they just weren't marketed well, weren't distributed well, and the reason why they were discontinued is they just didn't find a market. It had nothing to do with their quality or their style. You know, good example of that. Actually, I can't really think of a better example of that than would be something like this fragrance, which I love this fragrance, but let's be honest here. When Futuros came out in 1987, there were other things on the market already like it. It has a sort of sour cherry carnation kind of opening, which is a trick with benzyl aldehyde and eugenol. Kind of creates that effect. And then it goes into a sharp, clean, almost mossy / leathery base, but with some what were then modern aromachemical materials to kind of give it a bit of a soapy, clean, sheer kind of vibe to it. So it's got one foot in that early leading into aquatics, but then one foot in that more sheep race style. A lot of the guys went gaga on the forums, you know, and if you're a Facebook or Reddit user, those guys go nuts about this stuff too. And I fell for it, and I bought a bottle. Didn't pay a ton of money for it. Got it from my friend Anuj, Enchant Parfums. And, you know, he's a straight shooter. He doesn't hype up things that aren't hyped up. And he told me exactly what this was going to be like when I bought it. And I bought it, and he was right. Satisfied with my purchase, though, and I will continue to wear this until the light takes me, as they say. But if you own Ho Hong Club, you probably don't need this. If you own French Line by Revillon, you probably don't need this. There are a lot of things that did that similar sort of carnation leather kind of thing in the 80s. So while this is not entirely like other things, it's also not so standout and unique as you might be led to believe by people who blow a bunch of smoke because they worship vintage stuff. They get in their heads. I don't want to say that they're dangerous in any real way, but a little bit cuckoo, absolutely. And some people just get so worked up into a froth, a hysterical froth, like a nostalgia-induced or FOMO-induced psychosis, if you will, that they almost act like, and I've made this joke before, but they act like they're in a Baptist church or in a Pentecostal church or one of those kind of things where they're singing and dancing and writhing on the floor and screaming hallelujah and holding snakes over their heads and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, holy fucking Christ, it is just fragrances. Calm the fuck down. But that's how worked up they get. And they get really, really militant and angry too when you disagree with them. So it's a whole headspace that I've poked fun of many times before. I'm not going to do it anymore here in this video. But you get the point. You get the point. But I decided this year to kind of move away from that. Chasing fragrances like that. Even though I did get a couple, like that's one that I bought this year, but I decided more or less to go after lines that I had been neglecting. I wanted to have a brand that I didn't have any fragrances from, and then I fell in love with the brand and bought multiple fragrances from that brand. So one of those big lines that I kind of invested in this year and patted out my shelf over here is Essential Parfums. I bought several of theirs. I own right now, it looks like I've got 5 of them, and I've got room for one more. I could push it to 6 bottles. It'd be right at the edge of the shelf here. After 6 though, that's it. There'd be no more. I wouldn't collect anything else from the house because I can't extend past the space I don't have, right? But obviously it started with Bois Imperial, which is a fantastic fragrance. Bois Imperial, everyone compares to Ganymede, but I've never smelled Ganymede, so I still can't confirm or deny that comparison. But Bois Imperial is so good, I almost don't care to smell Ganymede now. But if any of y'all want to sling me some Ganymede for Christmas, like a late year sample, you want to send me a sample of Ganymede so I can finally put that rumor to bed, as they say. If you want to help me do that, I'd be happy. But other ones I got, and I've done a video about this line, so I'm not going to talk really anything about the perfumes. You already know. But I got Fig Infusion, which is, also really nice if you like fig fragrances. But you think something like Philosopos is just too figgy, too intense, then Fig Infusion is a good compromise. It's more on the woody side. Mon Vetiver, which I love my vetiver fragrances, so this is fan-fucking-tastic for me. I love this. And, Mon Vetiver is it's got this lovely kind of gin sort of opening, and then it goes into that really grassy kind of vetiver. It's not a super nutty or woody vetiver. It's a real grassy vetiver. So it's almost like a Tom Ford gray vetiver, but, won't cost you a whole kidney. And you take that kind of gray vetiver and you add a bit of juniper up top, give it that gin kind of feeling. Divine Vanille. This was created by the late Olivier Pichot, and unfortunately he's not with us anymore, but this is a fantastic vanilla fragrance. You know me, I'm not a big fan of sweet fragrances, and I'm not a big fan of vanilla fragrances either, but this one is good. Some people compare this to tobacco vanille, and I can kind of see that. If you were to take the tobacco from tobacco vanille and dial it way down to where it's barely even there, and focus more on the vanilla, and then make it a bit more, I almost want to say a bit woodier, but not necessarily, because it doesn't feel like wood in any way that you would really recognize, but it doesn't have that thick, stuffy, tonka heavy vibe that tobacco vanille actually has. This is really more vanilla than anything else, but it has that backbone. It has that little bit of that sort of aromatic tonka related backbone, but it's really nice. And it's not super sweet either. And then, of course, Patchouli Mania. This is the last one I have from this house. And Patchouli Mania is just fantastic. For some reason, people don't talk about this one very much. And I think they should, because it really feels like a homage to the Lancement de Guerlain fragrances. So if you like the Lancement de Guerlain, or Lidge as they call it, if you like that sort of style with its a slight cocoa, slight gourmand, but patchouli sort of fragrance. So it's more patchouli than it is gourmand, but it has that gourmand opening and has a bit of anise in it as well. If you want that, and you would like a spiritual successor to Lancement de Guerlain, then absolutely give that a try. And it's cheaper than Guerlain, because this whole line is basically less expensive than a lot of other brands. And the quality for what you pay is just phenomenal. So, happy that I got into that line. Essential Parfums, very happy. Another line that I really got into is up here. I'm not going to show you all of these because I already did a video very recently on all of these. But my Floris fragrances. All of my lovely Floris fragrances, of which there are many now. For better or for worse, there are many of these. And, well, let me tell you, I enjoy them all. And Floris has this very stately kind of approach to their fragrances. They are not very sweet or very musky. Their projection is restrained, but they have very persistent sillage, which is different from projection. Projection is how far away you can smell it. Sillage is the cloud that's around you and how long that is and how detectable that is. And on the wearer, it's subtle, but you can smell it all day. The eau de parfums are a little more octane than the eau de toilettes, And you also have to realize a lot of these fragrances were designed in the 19th century. And in the 19th century, everything was basically a cologne anyway. So they're not going to be super musky. They're not going to be super heavy, because that's just not how fragrances were made in that century. They were very heavily based around citrus notes and high alcohol, and they were light. But obviously, Floris bases them out a little more because they were toilet waters. Now they say eau de toilette, they use the French, but a long time ago they were toilet waters. That's how they labeled them. Like Special 127, made in 1870 something. And it's bergamot and rose, effectively. A little bit of lavender and some civet, a tiny bit of civet, to give it some longevity. But it's not a banger, not a club banger. Limes, which is around the same time period, a little older actually. Limes is 1832, and it is just it's more than lime juice, first of all. It doesn't smell like just lime. It smells like lime and linden blossom and all of this other stuff that builds it out. And again, it's light, fresh, And then, of course, number 89, the James Bond fragrance, which is also very stately. This is a bit more of a proper chypre but this 51, they figured out how to make heavier bases in 51. And then Elite, which is from 1980, it's a vetiver fragrance. Again, love my vetiver fragrances. And then more recent stuff, like Vert Fougere from 2019. Turnbull and Acer, which is also fairly recent. Honey Oud, which they did 2 oud fragrances, actually. And this one is the sweeter of the 2. And I love this one a lot as well. It's very just, it's really more ambery than it is honey, honestly. The honey is there, but don't be mistaken into thinking that it's going to be this massive, ooey gooey, sweet bomb. It's not, because none of their fragrances are designed like that anyway. That's just not what Floris does. They don't really do stuff like that. You want big sugary sweet, you've come to the wrong place with them. And then, of course, Naughton and Wilson. Can't really go without mentioning them because I didn't have a single fragrance from them until this year, till 2025. But I did a video about all their fragrances too, so I won't go too far into it. But there's a new one that didn't exist when I did my previous video, so I'll talk about that one a little more detail. But I got into this range because a friend of mine on Bass Notes was singing the praises, and you know me, I don't really like influencer brands, right? I don't really like YouTuber brands, but I wasn't super close friends to Dan Naughton or anything, and I still don't want to say that I am because we talk, but it's not like we're slapping each other on the back and calling each other bro or anything like that. It's not that. It's not that personal. But likable guy. He has a sense of humor that I appreciate, that I think not a lot of people these days appreciate, because people don't know how to laugh at themselves and they don't understand what it means to take the piss. If you don't know what taking the piss means, A, you're not English. B, you don't have Google access. C, yeah. I'll let you figure out C. C is blank. None of the above, all the above, but a lot of his humor revolves around taking the piss, which means he kind of just, he makes fun of himself, he makes fun of other people, but it's not mean-spirited, So, but some people hear him say something and they take it completely seriously at face value. They don't realize that he's kind of like, tongue-in-cheek with it. But in any case, that's irrelevant to the perfumes. That's just something I wanted to say because I get some flack sometimes when I bring up, Mr. Smelly and stuff. But, whether you care for his sense of humor or not, doesn't matter. The perfumes, like I said, my friend was singing the praises about them. And I normally don't blind buy stuff, but they had this crazy deal where you basically pay the price that one would cost and you get 3. And you have to understand, I love my deals. I'm a coupon clipper. I download and install apps to get the deals, okay? That's what I do. So, yeah, you want to give me 3 fragrances for basically the price of one? It's like $200 for 3? I'll do it. Sure. Knowing how much they cost individually and knowing how highly regarded they were by my friend, who I trust my friend's opinion, by the way. Stylin' in LA is the friend in question on Bass Notes. Not sure what his YouTube handle is, but yeah. So the original Gravitas is just, if you love stuff like Pierre Cardin, Bois de Portugal, Tiffany for Men, Chanel Pour Monsieur, Eau de Toilette Concentré, or the Eau de Parfum version. You like Nikolai New York, or New York Intense. You like that sort of what they call semi-oriental fougere vibe. And anyone that tries to cancel me for the use of that word is going to get blocked. So don't go there. I've already had someone come at me the other day about it. And I've got tons and tons of Asian friends, both locally and online. None of them seem to care. There are literally restaurants called Asian Delight. Or, I'm sorry, there are literally restaurants called Oriental Delight or Oriental Bowl or stuff that exist out here. Restaurants. And they're open every day and people go in there and eat. Nobody cares. No one makes a deal about it. I just don't understand. So, anyway, moving on from that. Semi-Oriental Fougere. So, again, sort of like the Bois de Portugal, sort of like Pierre Cardin. Very oak mossy. Okay, very mossy. So, all those oak moss guys, the big oak moss guys, right? They love the oak moss. They always talk about, what's the fragrance of the oak moss? You know, that whole thing. Well, here you go. Here you go, guys. Love it, lap it up, drink it up, shoot it up, snort it up. I don't care how you get it in your system, but there it is. And then the Essentia version, which is like a little bit lighter, a little more artemisia, a little more vanilla, less on the sandalwood, less on the patchouli. Okay, so is it a summer fragrance? No. Is it a lighter, more sporty fragrance of Gravitas? Yes. So Gravitas with a t-shirt on. That's how I would describe Essentia. Essentia is Gravitas with wearing a t-shirt. And Chypre Fulminari, which I make tons of jokes. I'm always telling Dan it's the full Minare. It's not half the Minare. It's not part of the Minare. It's the full Minare. That's not actually what it means. It's a Latin for something, but I don't know Latin. So, but it's a lovely green, leathery, sort of woody castoreum kind of Chypre. If you're a fan of Devon, if you're a fan of Phileas and Yatagan, if you're a fan of all that sort of stuff. It also reminds me a bit of Clandestine Laboratories, Certo. So if you're a fan of Certo, you'd also like this. But it's that 70s green Chypre vibe, true and through. Then we've got Bon Viveur, which these are the newer style bottles. They're a little bit wider and have this metal label on them. This one to me is kind of like Chanel Paul Monsieur, the original from the 50s. That's that style, that sort of men's 50s dapper kind of Chypre. A little bit powdery. Again, with the oak moss. More citruses, you know. If you're a fan of Chanel Paul Monsieur or stuff like Eau de Guerlain or Monsieur de Givenchy, that sort of thing, that's your vibe, the 50s, 60s vibe. This is for you. Then there is Arezzo. Arezzo is kind of like the closest thing to a gourmand that this brand is ever going to give you because they're very traditional, masculine brand. They don't really do gourmands, but it's sort of got the woody, saffron, the booziness, a little bit of leather in the base, tobacco. It's definitely the most modern smelling one. It's a good, cozy fragrance. And then, last but not least, the newest one, the one that someone wanted me to make a longer video about, but I am not making a 35-minute video about a brand new fragrance. There's no history. There's nothing to talk about. What am I going to fill 35 minutes with on a brand new release? I mean, I could just talk in circles, I guess. Everybody would fall asleep, but I could do it. So this came out this year, and this is the newest one. And it's got a cool little twerk to it because it comes at you with this, again, like with the Futuros, the benzoaldehyde, and then a little bit of the carnation, the eugenol. But it's done in a way that it's really more of like a maraschino cherry or like a grenadine style of a sweetness. And then it immediately goes more into the carnation side of things. And then you get this boozy tobacco note. And it's not a sweet tobacco. It's not a Tom Ford tobacco, okay? Do not think. This is a very sort of musty, mossy tobacco. This is more of like an 80s style tobacco, a 1980s style tobacco, because you get that 1980s style cherry opening I was telling you about. So it's still an old school style fragrance. So don't let the gourmand notes freak you out. It's still very mossy in the base, still very much patchouli, oak moss, labdanum, all these things. It's almost a kissing cousin of the first fragrance. Like, Gravitas is more of that fougere presentation. Old Money is not a fougere, so, but it has that same very kind of dank, woody, mossy base that I think if you like all the other stuff, you'd like that one too. So, all right. What am I going to do next year, right? What are my plans for next year? Well, as you can see, I don't really have a whole lot of space to buy any more perfumes. I've got a few spots open for things I want to eventually acquire. I do want to get the new Terre d'Hermès Eau de Parfum Intense, the licorice-y kind of one. Just haven't gotten around to buying it because it's full price, so you know how that goes. When I gotta pay retail for a designer, I tend to avoid doing it. But eventually that's going to come home to me and sit over there. Also, I've got room for maybe Aqua Digio Elixir can sit there. I might pick that up because I like that range too. I don't need to buy the remade Parfum or the remade Profumo or the remade Eau de Toilette. I'm set for life with what I have on that. So all those reconfigured flankers, I don't need those. But the Elixir is new. There's no analog to the Elixir, so I may add that. Still a little space in the cabinet down below for the random vintage fragrance that I come across, or if I decide to go through, yank some of them out and give them away, I'll free up some space for some different things. I'll have to really audit and evaluate what I'm really reaching for and what I'm not, what I think might be more fun to own, and then chuck the stuff that's not so much. And then, of course, one or two more Floris fragrances up there. I may add those. I want to get one of the Gucci flankers I'm missing. I've got room for one or two more Gucci Guilty flankers. That's really it. That's it. I'm going to be literally tapped out. Not on money, but on space. I'm going to be done buying perfume. That's crazy. To say that you've reached the end of the road, but I'm going to be done because I don't have space for anything designer or niche or anything like that. I always have room for Avon because the Avons have their own dedicated shelves and they're both half full. So I can always grab the random Avon thing that I see that I want. And Avon's got 1,000 perfumes anyway. So I will always trickle in the Avon here and there, but Avon's a separate world from the rest of my perfume. Let's be honest here. Most people who come to my channel for Avon only come to my channel for Avon. The people who come to my channel for everything else, people who come to my channel for this stuff, or people who come to my channel for this stuff, or that stuff, they absolutely fucking hate when I talk about Avon. Everyone that comes here for the vintage discontinued designers, or comes here for the niche, or comes here for the artisanal, or whatever other stuff I have, the moment I make an Avon video, views go like this. Absolutely tank. But the people who know and love the Avon, my Avon people, right, they watch the shit out of those videos when I make those Avon videos. But it's all 5 of you. It's all 5 of you. So I can't really say that having the ability to buy more Avon is really being able to buy more perfume. Still practically out of the game, basically. And I'm okay with that. It means I'm going to move more into sampling and reviewing and just getting decants and getting minis and then giving the minis away and then giving the decants away and just having this rotating, bring it in, sniff it, write about it, do a video about it, rotate it out. And I'm just going to live my life like that, just reviewing and sampling. And like I said, if I give a bottle away and free up a space, then I might buy a new bottle. But otherwise, the hunt is over. I'm not getting on eBay and searching the keywords. It's over, okay? It's a wrap in that regard. And I'm happy with that. It's more money for other things. You know, maybe I can get my gaming computer that I want to get. Who knows? Okay? Who really knows?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
And who cares? So, now, very end of the video. Last 5 minutes. Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, Christmas recommendations, holiday recommendations. I think you guys already know. You guys already know what one of them is going to be. Every year, every December video I do at the end, I tell you the same thing. It's like Pinky and the Brain. What are we doing tonight, Brain? Same thing we do every night. Recommend Burberry London. You thought I was going to say try and take over the world, didn't you? No. Recommend Burberry London. The ultimate Christmas fragrance. Because it just smells like port wine and tobacco and fruitiness and cherries, and it just, yeah, it's a cardigan. This bottle is wearing a sweater for a reason. There's a reason this bottle's in a sweater. Okay? They're letting you know exactly what this is all about when you look at it. So I can also plug Old Money. I know you wouldn't really think of Old Money with a name like this as a Christmas fragrance, but because of that tobacco and the cherry notes up top and all of the other spiciness and woodiness, it does actually kind of lend itself a little bit to Christmas. I could see wearing Old Money, you know, on Christmas. Another one is going to be, oh, not that one. Maybe it's this one. The CK Shock. Another nice Christmassy fragrance. A very yummy, gourmand tobacco fragrance that I think is in the goofiest bottle of all time. This does not read at all what is contained here, but that's the beauty of it, right? You do not judge a book by its cover, like I said in my last video. So, then another one I could say, you know, if we're doing the Christmas, discontinued, so it may not necessarily be easy to find. And if it isn't, if you can't get it for a good price, I'll give you an alternative. But if you can get your hand on the Jacques Fath Pour L'Homme, very cozy, raspberry and tobacco and vanilla and sandalwood. Olivier Guillotin made this fragrance, and Olivier Guillotin is the same guy who made Tobacco Vanille. So this is almost like a prototype for Tobacco Vanille, but way better. Way, way, way better. Don't even like. I only made the comparison because of the same perfumer, but otherwise, you would be doing this fragrance dirty if you compared it directly to Tobacco Vanille. However, I know that's discontinued, and I know it can be expensive, so I will instead recommend you a bottle of this. Not quite as heavy on the cocoa and gourmand notes, not quite as heavy. Doesn't have the raspberry in it, but this has definitely got a lot of lovely other things. It's got black currant bud in it. It's got vanilla in it. It's got tolu balsam in it, benzoin in it, sandalwood, amber. So it's another cozy, wintry holiday fragrance that I will be looking forward to using a lot more now that we're in the dark times of the year when it's cold and the sun goes down early. And yeah, that's another sort of Christmassy kind of one. This one, I know not a lot of you like to really venture into women's fragrances if you're men, but my lady friends will vouch for me on this one. Ciara by Revlon. Another lovely, nice, spicy, sweet, floral, cozy, just great cuddle-up fragrance. This is a vintage bottle, by the way, but you can get these for relatively okay prices. But but I think even a guy would love to check that out. It's a nice one. And then, of course, I'm going to pick Devil's Share by Darren Allen. This is another one that's very cozy, has the vanilla, has some gourmand notes, has a tight cap that's hard to pull off. That's not a feature, that's a bug, but it's okay. Yeah, this is another one that's just great for fireplace, snuggle time, for Christmas tree lights, for drinking hot cocoa. Even though it says Devil's Share, and you're thinking, well, that's the worst thing to have for a holiday that's supposed to celebrate the birth of Jesus, right? So just ignore the name for me. Ignore the name for me and just smell the damn perfume. Okay? Don't make me come over there and beat you up, because I will. And then that's going to just about round it out. So I don't want to give you too many options. You guys go do your holiday thing the way you want to. Actually, you know what? One more. Because when a motherfucker absolutely, positively has to smell like a Christmas tree, like you need to smell like you're on a lot selling trees, right? You wear this. I mean, it's a pine cone. Do I need to tell you? Pinot Silvestri. Helping grown-ass men smell like Christmas trees since 1955. In Italy. Go figure. I don't know. Love it or shove it, but there it is. So, okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in to yet another one of my TED Talks about perfume, even though my name is not Ted, nor will it ever be. And you have a happy rest of your 2025. You know where I'm going. And I'll see you when I get there. Take care now. Bye-bye then.